Hi, it's Linda. The other day when I was filming my last video that I was posting for 2022, I realized that I had a lot of unfinished projects, and I thought maybe one of my New Year's goals, I don't actually make resolutions, but one of my goals should be to finish up some of these unfinished projects. And one of the ones I was thinking about in particular is this pattern that I have glued onto this page. I had plans for it, and I knew what I wanted to do, but I just hadn't gotten around to doing it. So today, that's what we're going to do. What I'm going to do is use the back of this pattern envelope, which I have glued to this page, and make a pocket. I'm going to glue it to the back of the other page and make a side loading pocket on it. And then to go in the pocket, I'm going to make a swatch card. The first thing I'm going to do is cut this paper down and leave enough that I can fold it back under to make the edge a little bit stronger. This paper is, I think it's sketchbook paper, and it's pretty sturdy, but this paper is old and rather fragile. So I want to make sure it has backing behind it to keep it sturdy. And I'm just going to set the book aside and cut this back. I'm going to leave a good bit to turn back so that I don't have to fight with it too much. Actually, I'm going to turn it this way and do it so I can see what I'm doing here. I should come this way. Okay. I made this a little wider than this, so I have a little bit extra to turn back. I'm going to score it with this groove in this cutter so that it folds easily. I'm going to use my bone folder to just go through that right there and make it straight. And it doesn't look very straight. I wonder why that is. It's straight there, so I must have cut it crooked. I may trim that off a little bit more so that it's even and doesn't look weird. Even though it'll be hidden and nobody will see it, but I'll know. Okay. Let's trim that off right there. Okay, there we go. I'm going to use some Craft Bond Extra Strength Glue Stick. It says it's a permanent bond. I don't know if I believe that or not, but it's maybe more permanent than some. So we'll just put a little glue on this. And I'm going to cut a divot on this also so that it's obvious that it's a pocket. But I may wait till the glue dries a little bit before I do that. All right. I'm just going to make a shallow divot there because I really don't want to get into this paper. I want it to stay as much intact as it is. Hopefully that is dry enough now that I can go ahead and make the little cut here. And I'm just going to kind of see where I think it ought to be. That looks about like a good spot to me. Okay, now we can glue it down to the back of this page. And I think I'm just going to put some Fabri-Tac on it. And make sure I have it going the right way. I'm just going to use my makeup. This is a silicone makeup spreader, or I think it's face mask spreader is what it actually is. And I'm just going to smooth this out just a little bit. And it seems like it's already drying, so I hope I can get it stuck down before it turns too hard there. And I'm just going to put it down up the edge here, just a tiny bit in from the spine. It's a little bit shorter than that page, but I guess that's okay. Okay, a little glue seeping out there. See if I can get rid of that. Okay, there we go. We have a pocket now to put our swatch card in. So we'll let that dry. And I will show you, I started working on this yesterday, and I made this one. Well, I started this one. I cut my fabrics out with pinking shears. These are my pinking shears that I use on fabric. I don't use them on paper because that apparently dulls them. So I have to keep those over there. I use this stamp out of this set, and I put washi tape over the fleur-de-lis to make just the edge show. I used Archival ink watering pen color. It's a dark gray. And I'll just show you how I did this. I used blank index cards. They're 4x6. I drew a line on it before, just decide where I wanted to put the stamps. The placement of the fabric is what it's for. And what I did is I just went on the edge of the ink pad and just got the border inked. And I just turned it around to ink the border all the way around. And then, when I had that done, I stamped it on the page. And this time I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. It's probably a mistake, but I'm going to do it anyway. Okay, there we go. So that gives you an indication of where to place your fabric samples. I want to show you. I have this old catalog. It's called the Nationals Fall and Winter 1928-29 Supplement of Ready-to-Use Lines. Hosiery, handkerchiefs, silk scarves, ladies' lingerie, etc. All those things. And this was something that my grandmother had, and I think she had intended to make it into a scrapbook and glue some things into it because it had a lot of things that she cut out of magazines, recipes and various things that she cut out of magazines stuck into it. And my mother still had this in her things. It's copyright July of 1928. And it had samples of fabric all through it. And this is how they did it. They had, on this one, number 5051, and a box where the sample was to be glued in. And then it said sample of quality, superior quality, pure wool mufflers. And then it had the description and the price for each of them. So that's kind of what I was basing my swatch cards on. It was this idea of the box to glue the fabric into. It's kind of interesting. It had, I don't know if she took those out because took the fabrics out because she was going to glue in her paper and she didn't want it to be bumpy underneath it, or if they fell out because the glue wasn't that good or whatever the reason was. It's kind of a neat book. It's, you know, I kind of don't know what to do with it other than just look at it. So perhaps make some copies of some of these things that I could use the images in crafting. I don't know. But anyway, that was where I got my idea of doing these boxes. And I was trying to figure out how to do my boxes. And these, on this card, I used this die and just drew around this inside edge there. I put it down where it was like lined up on the edge of the paper and used this Micron 05 pen to draw around it. And that's how I got these. I don't know if they're spaced quite like I want them to be or not, but I thought I'd glue the fabric on there. Let's go back to this. This is the one I did yesterday that I was working on. I put the stamp, I didn't stamp real well there, but it's covered up with the fabric anyway. I just glued it at the top because I thought, well, you might want to just put a little secret thing under there or just be able to feel of the fabric or whatever reason it would be loose. And on it, I used this stamp and stamped that on there. I found names of old button items. These. La Chic, and that one's in, I was kind of trying to copy that. And then there is this one, which has a brand name on it that says Halpern's Fabrics. And apparently, Mother or Grandma had a button left over, so they attached it to a piece of the card and sewed it over the thing I want to see. Shame on them. But anyway, I was looking at this type on here, and I thought, well, that wouldn't be too hard to do. Well, yeah, it was. But I've been practicing. I have a whole bunch of them. I don't know if I have one that I would use yet, but anyway, I'm thinking about putting that on something. So anyway, I got sidetracked yesterday, but I had written La Chic, and then I glued it, and I found out that it's these calligraphy pens, And apparently they're water-based because it kind of smeared the ink, and that turned out kind of a pink color. Anyway, I digress. I am going to persevere and finish this. And what I wanted to do on here is just put, like in the catalog, a name and number under them. And so I typed up some words, some various things. I just gave these fabrics some names. Like, I called this one Dottie number 5432. And so I thought I'd just cut that out and put it underneath there. So I'm going to do that. I'm not going to be real precise about it. I'm just going to do it. So, and I may put cotton dress prints down here, just underneath the last, as a tagline down there at the bottom. So anyway, I'm just going to cut these out as best I can, as straight as I can, and then glue them on there. If they're not too long, that one looks okay. Some of these others, I doubled them up and put the name and then the number underneath it. And even though some of these names are the same as those up there, I have another card, this one, for instance, that I'm going to put the numbers on the side and have it there. I call this one Springtime. That's a little bit long there. And then I was trying to think of something that would be a word that might have been used. I think this was probably in the 20s, I'm guessing, or maybe the 30s. I don't know. It's a girl's dress pattern. I don't know. I was looking at some ads on Pinterest from fabrics from that time period and words that they used to describe the fabrics and things like that. So I don't know if my words are exactly what might have been used, but we'll pretend that it is. I'm trying to make this straight, which is not all that straight, but I think in that catalog that all of those things had to be glued in by somebody. Somebody's sitting there with a glue pot and a brush and the fabrics and gluing them all down in every catalog they did. Wouldn't that be a labor-intensive thing? And then, how many did they do? I have no idea, but and I'd really like to know where my grandmother got that, because she was not in any kind of merchandise occupation or anything like that where she would have had access to a catalog like that, to my knowledge. So I would be interested to know how she came about having it. But she had a lot of friends, and friends that maybe were in that, so maybe that's how she came to have that. Now, I think these are going to bump up, so what I may do is I may switch the Rose and Springtime, even though this looks more like Springtime to me. Or I may cut it in the middle and scoot it together a little bit. And I'm going to glue it first and then do that. So let me get my glue paper here. We'll start down here with the one that's most difficult. Okay. All right, I'm going to just cut that right. Now I'm going to cut it this way. I'll cut it long and cut a little bit of that off and put it down. And I think I could take that 4 off of there. It doesn't really matter what this number is. It's just a fake number anyway, so that's what I'm going to do. I don't have it very straight, but anyway, it's just going to be what it is. And since I took that number off, let's see if I can do that again. 553 will work. Have a little more room down there. I mean, it doesn't matter. Maybe the top ones I'll just leave as they are. And if I were really persnickety and wanted it to be perfect, I would be lining this up with a ruler of some kind or a straight line, but I'm not going to. It's just going to be kind of hand-done, homemade. Okay, there we go. And Dottie. I thought about giving them all girl names, like Dottie and Sarah Ann. And, I mean, I don't know, just old-fashioned names. Martha Marie. Something, I don't know. Just make it up as I go along. Okay, there we go. Now, does that look official? I hope it does. I hope it looks official enough. I don't have anything on the back, and I was just thinking that could be just a writing place. Or, if I wanted to, I could add some, like this scrapbooking paper back here. This, to me, looks like it's going the wrong way to add it that way, so it would need to go this way, and that's too short. So, I might have to find something else if I do that. Right now, I think I'm just going to leave it like that and let it be like that. Oh, I was going to put the cotton dress prints down there below that. Okay, and I'm just going to put that fairly low there, and hopefully a little bit centered. Maybe that looks pretty good. I could have, if I had worked it out right, I could have just put this card in the typewriter if I'd known exactly where I wanted to put those names and numbers and things on there. I could have just typed it directly on the card, but I didn't because I think that would be harder to get it centered. And this is my book. It's just for me, and so I didn't think it was necessary for that. So this is a card to go in the pocket like that. And the pocket's pretty deep and pretty big, so I may make another one. I have more than one in there. This is the dress, and this would be fabrics that whoever was making this dress could choose one of these, perhaps, to make the dress out of. And it has lace down the front and a collar and a bow there, so you could have a card that would have say like this card. You could do a swatch of fabric to make the dress out of, lace to go around the collar and down the front, and maybe whatever kind of ribbon that you might want to put on to make a bow at the neck. So that could be another way to do a card, just to have an idea of how you want the dress to be. And this might be something that, say, a seamstress might do. You go to her and you have your pattern, and she says, well, let me make some suggestions. And maybe she has 2 or 3 cards like this, and she says, okay, this fabric and this lace or this and whatever. And then you decide and sign off on it or whatever. I don't know. I'm making this up. Anyway, I have some others here. I have this one also, which has, this is the same fabric as that, but it's a different part of the fabric, has a little different print in it, so it looks slightly different. And on this one, I drew lines where I was going to place the stamp, and so that's why I have lines on it still. So I'm going to erase those. I'm going to make this one to go in here too, I think, just for fun. Why not? And that will be 2 different journaling spots in the pocket to write on. So we'll do this one. And hopefully I can use some different. These names down here are different, so I can use those. So the first thing I'm going to do is round the corner. No, the first thing I'm going to do is erase these pencil lines. So we'll be back in a second. On this card, when I was stamping those, I got this part into the ink and it smudged that, and I thought, I'm just not going to worry about that. It's not perfect, but it's fine. Now I'm going to round the corners on this one. I'm going to go around twice like I like to do. I just feel like it makes them smoother. It looks to me like that's not, it's got a little bump on it, and it seems like when you go back the other way, it does a little better job of making them all the same. Okay. Now I'm just going to go ahead and glue the fabric on here. Get my glue coming. It's getting kind of sleepy, as it does when it gets older. Oops, it makes strings. I'm just going to smooth that out a little bit. Okay. And put the fabric over that. This fabric is probably, I know for sure it's vintage. It may even be antique. I'm not exactly sure how old it is, but I'm guessing maybe 20s or 30s. I don't know. But it's been around in the family a long time. And then this one I'm going to put in the middle between the 2 floral fabrics. And this fabric was a shirt fabric that one of my friends sent me in a quilting exchange. Not that I'm a quilter, but I have made quilt blocks. That's what we were doing. Okay. That will get the fabric glued down. I just think these are fun. I guess I'm silly, but I like to play and make up stories about this deal here. Okay. Now on this one, I'm going to use, let's see, if I do this one too, I don't know if I'm going to do all these or not. I just wanted to give you some ideas of different ways to do it. I think I'm going to use Abide Forever Dream, or I could use Joy Cherish. Oh, I don't know. It doesn't matter. I call that one, what did I call that one on the other card? I call that one Rose on this card. I guess I could call it Summer Rose on this card. Oh, this is not that. That's this one. I could call that one Summer Rose. This one's Springtime. It doesn't really matter. I'll just pick some words and stick them on here, like fiddling around. Go with Summer Rose. Ah! I just stuck my finger between the scissor blades. That wasn't too smart. Okay, put that there. And I think I'll call this one Felicity. It's a modern fabric, but that's okay. I think it has, to me, it has the look of a 30s print. Okay. All right. Oh, I'm not doing that yet. I'm going to glue them all down at one time. And then this one I'm going to call I'm going to call that one Cherish. I kind of like that. I could put prices on these. The ads that I was looking at yesterday that were from the 30s, fabric was 10.5 cents a yard, 11 cents a yard, 7 cents a yard. I guess the 11 cents was really nice stuff. But my aunt was telling me that when her dad would come to town, maybe to go serve on jury or something like that, they lived out in the country, and they came to the county seat for things like that, like serving on the jury and stuff. And that if he was coming to serve on the jury, he didn't know how long he'd be here, but my grandma, his wife, would ask him to go buy fabric to make my aunt dresses for starting back to school. And he'd pick out fabric for her dresses, and she would tell him, now get the good stuff, the 10-cent fabric, not that 9-cent stuff that's sleazy. And I have a quilt top that my mother made. It's called a Around the World quilt, and it has little squares of fabric on it. And some of those fabrics are from her dresses, and other mother's dresses and other things too. But I was glad to find out which fabrics were hers. I can remember one right now, but anyway. Different times. Those fabrics now, if you're lucky, you can get them for, I don't know, $7 or $8 a yard. And probably not as good a quality. But that is the way of life. Nobody makes their clothes much anymore. It's more crafting or quilting, it seems to me. I'm sure there are people who make clothing, but my mother made practically all of my clothes when I was a child. My dresses for school. We had to wear dresses, no pants. And sometimes for my birthday, I would get a dress from my aunt, an Easter dress, because my birthday's in spring, so it sometimes was around Easter time. And if it was, I'd get a new Easter dress to wear on that Sunday. All of my other clothes Mother sewed, and she was a very good seamstress. I'm thinking I may try to find, I have at least one picture that I can think of when I was a teen, maybe 15, 16, somewhere in there, of a dress. We were taking pictures out in the backyard, just for fun. I guess I came home from school and we did that, but I had on a dress that she had made. And I thought it would be fun if I could find that picture and put it in this envelope with these fabric swatches and things. I mean, the dress was nothing like this dress, but I still think it'd be fun to do that. So anyway, you may think, okay, this is kind of fun, but I don't get it. What am I going to do with fabric swatches? There are other things that you could think about using a swatch card for. Paper samples, like you could take different papers and have a piece on there for that. Or wallpapers. That would be fun to have swatches of wallpaper. Paint chips, if you were writing about you were going to paint a wall or paint your room or something, and you wanted to document the paint chips that you plan to use, you could do that. You could do swatches of watercolors, just for the fun of that. I mean, just to have the colors and ones that you think look pretty together. Ribbons, lace, trims, and one for the dress, like I already talked about. That's my thoughts on making swatch cards so far. I'll bring the book back over and congratulate myself on actually finishing something. And put the cards, the 2 cards that I made, put those in the book, in the pocket. I kind of like this one best. It has La Chic on it. This, I didn't put anything on it. I may need to put a cotton broadcloth or pinnacle percales or something on it to make it a little more official looking. But anyway, for now, it's done. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.